You hit render on a 30-second ad clip in Grok Imagine, and it stops at 15 seconds with half your scene missing. Seedance 2.5 doesn't have that problem, but picking the wrong tool costs you more than time. Seedance 2.5 is built for cinematic output. Grok Imagine is built for speed. So which one actually fits what you're making? Let's find out. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Alright, so test 1 is cost and pricing transparency. You're budgeting a batch of clips, maybe 20 videos a week, and you go to look up what Seedance 2.5 actually charges per second, and there's no official page. You're reading community leaks, and that's a real problem when you're trying to plan a production budget, because a leaked number is not a guarantee. I looked at both pricing structures, and Grok Imagine is the only one with an official rate card. Around 0.8 to 0 per second, with published credit packs and subscription tiers from $10 to $90 a month. Seedance's per second cost leaks at 0.04 on the low end, which is cheaper, but it's community sourced, so you're rolling the dice on whether that number holds. Grok Imagine takes test 1 on transparency, because if you're building a workflow around a tool, you need to know what it costs before you commit, not after you've burned through the credits. And that puts Grok Imagine up 1 to 0. I didn't expect pricing clarity to be the first real differentiator here. I've spent enough time inside these tools to know that a missing price page costs you way more than just money. Drop a comment if a mystery pricing page has ever wrecked your budget mid-project. Now, test 2 is coding benchmark performance. You might be wondering if one of these tools can help you generate code alongside your video, or if there's some technical edge one has over the other in that department, and it's a fair question, so I actually went and checked whether either model had any coding chops worth scoring. What got me here is how cleanly this dimension just doesn't apply. Both Seedance 2.5 and Grok Imagine are video generation models. Full stop. There's no coding layer, no code output, nothing to score, and applying a coding benchmark to either of these is like judging a camera on how well it writes emails. The dimension is NA for both, no score on the board. No points awarded here. This one's a wash because neither tool is a coding model, and scoring it would be made up. Score stays at Grok Imagine 1, Seedance 2.50, 1 dimension off the board. Okay, so test 3 is generation speed and latency. You've got a client on a call, they want a quick preview clip in the next few minutes, and your tool is still spinning. And 20 minutes later, you're apologizing. And at that point, the deal is already slipping away from you. Grok Imagine has vendor-published numbers, a standard clip in about 5 seconds, and a 24 FPS clip in under 20 seconds. Seedance 2.5 speed is described as near real-time by the community, which sounds great, but I couldn't find an official figure to point to, so I can't score it on that alone, and Grok Imagine's numbers are real and on the record. Grok Imagine wins speed, and it's pretty clear-cut, because 5 seconds for a standard clip is a published, verified number, and Seedance 2.5 simply doesn't have one to compete with. That puts Grok Imagine up 2 to 0, with 1 dimension still tied. So Grok Imagine is ahead on the scoreboard right now, but output limits and deployment are still on the table, and those 2 tests could completely change which tool actually fits your workflow. So if you're making anything longer than a quick social clip, what comes next is going to matter a lot more than speed. Test 4 is context and output limits. You're producing a 30-second product ad at 4K. You load up your tool, and it caps you at 15 seconds and 720p. So now you're stitching two clips together, the cut shows, the client notices, and you're working around a hard ceiling every single time you sit down to produce. I had to run through these specs twice because the gap is pretty wild. Seedance 2.5 goes up to 30 seconds at 4K with a 180-second beta mode and up to 50 reference inputs, including audio, while Grok Imagine tops out at 15 seconds and 720p with no listed multi-reference support. And those two tools are operating at completely different creative ceilings. Seedance 2.5 wins output limits, and this is where the whole comparison starts to shift, because 4K at 30 seconds with 50 reference inputs is a generation ahead of anything Grok Imagine can produce. And that brings the score to Grok Imagine 2, Seedance 2.51, with one test remaining. Test 5 is deployment and modality. You want to feed an audio track into your video model as a reference, or you need the tool to plug into an API so it fits your existing stack. And if your tool only takes text and images and only runs in a browser, that's a real workflow bottleneck. Especially when you're trying to automate at any kind of scale, Seedance 2.5 accepts text, image, video, and audio as reference inputs, and it runs across Hmong, Dremina, and the Volcano Engine API, while Grok Imagine takes text and image only, and lives on the web and mobile at grok.com. The audio reference input alone is a killer feature for anyone doing music-driven or voice-synced content, and Grok Imagine just doesn't have it. Seedance 2.5 takes deployment and modality because multi-surface reach plus audio reference inputs is a level of flexibility Grok Imagine can't match right now, and that ties the scoreboard at 2 wins each, with one dimension skipped, so the overall verdict comes down to what you actually need to make. On creative ceiling, Seedance 2.5 wins by a wide margin. You get 30-second clips at 4K, up to 50 multimodal references, including audio, and availability across Hmong, Dremina, and the Volcano Engine API. So if you're making cinematic ads, music videos, or anything that needs serious production quality, that's your tool. Grok Imagine wins on speed and predictability. A standard clip in about 5 seconds, a 24 FPS clip in under 20 seconds, and an official rate card so you know exactly what you're paying before you hit generate, and if you need quick social clips and a budget you can actually plan around. Grok Imagine is the simpler, faster pick. If you need cinematic quality, 30 seconds at 4K, pick Seedance 2.5. If fast, predictable clips at a known price is all you need, Grok Imagine gets you there in 5 seconds flat. One thing that didn't make it into the formal tests, Grok Imagine's content moderation is a real wildcard. Users report that harmless prompts get blocked without warning, and when that happens, you lose the credits anyway. And I couldn't find a documented refund policy for blocked generations, so budget a buffer if you're running. Grok Imagine at any volume. If you want to see how Seedance 2.5 holds up against another serious competitor, I did a full breakdown in Seedance 2.5 versus Veo, 3.1 versus Minimax H3, which is better. And the resolution and length gaps get even more interesting when a third model enters the mix.